Welcome back. Now, people in Singapore most commonly encountered fake identities online over the past year, also known as catfishing. A new survey by the Digital Development and Information Ministry lays out online harms people have personally experienced and content they have seen. Kate Low reports.
1 in 3 people in Singapore have personally experienced harmful behaviour online. Apart from catfishing, the most common experiences were unwanted sexual messages and online harassment. And while these take place behind a screen, a psychiatrist says such experiences can affect people's dignity as well as their sense of control.
For catfishing, it is about betrayal. And the betrayal cuts very deep because it exploits trust and intimacy. Many victims feel very humiliated for falling for it, even though the manipulation was very deliberately done. I think for cyberbullying and for sexual harassment, I think it adds layers of shame and powerlessness, and it makes people feel very, very exposed even in their own homes.
More than 8 in 10 also saw harmful content at least a few times a month. 1 in 3 saw illegal activities like scams or prohibited items on sale. Around 1 in 4 saw sexual content as well as violent material. Yet, most did not make reports to the platforms. More than 4 in 5 simply skipped or closed the content. 1 in 4 did nothing at all. Authorities say this could be because past experiences did not lead to timely action. One expert says platforms can do more.
They need to have that responsibility to work with not just regulators, right, but also communities to be able to detect as much as possible, as quickly as possible, detect them and block them, and also, if need be, remove such content swiftly.
Digital Development and Information Minister Josephine Teo notes that nearly 2 in 3 people want stronger regulations against online harms. A new law ensuring victims get timely help will be proposed by the first half of next year.
Let's get a little bit more analysis now, and we are joined by Associate Professor Natalie Pang. Prof. Pang, when you just heard that package and the results of that survey, what stands out to you about the online climate these days?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think one of the things that's really stands out to me is not just the rate of exposure to harmful content has increased. I think one of the other things that really stands out to me is the fact that even though exposure has increased, it actually doesn't mean that people are taking action about them, right? The fact that many users actually, in fact, take no action even after they know and they actually can recognize the harmful content is actually kind of telling.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because as you said, they seem to think that reporting harmful content is, well, perhaps futile in some senses, and it's just too much to combat. So what do you think can be done to earn their trust, or maybe encourage them to report what they see, because it does count?
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And I think it reflects a certain desensitization that's going on, especially amongst users who are very much online. They spend many aspects of their life online, right? So there's a certain, normalization that's going on that's very concerning, and that could explain why they don't think it is that necessary to report, right? So I think increasing awareness of the importance of reporting is definitely one very important thing we have to do, but also making it easier for them to actually report harmful content, harmful behavior is important. I think last but not least is really, I think this is where media literacy education needs to play an important role, right? To actually also engage and inform and educate users about the seriousness of online harms.
Yeah, you mentioned 3 very important ways to combat that, but we also have to note that 2/3 of the those surveyed, are also calling for a 4th way, stronger regulation. Do you see that as a possibility, and what's motivating the public appetite for a kind of state intervention online, if you like?
To a certain extent, right? This is sort of a shift away from the kind of light touch approach that Singapore has been having in the past, right? But I think that a shift in attitude, right, also to me reflects greater awareness, a deeper as well as a deeper concern that online harms is something that actually not just infects individuals, is something that if left unchecked is going to affect our society as we speak.
Interesting. There's a collective impact as well as an individual impact. But
Indeed.
if I follow this line of questioning about regulation, right, I'm wondering how might that look like on the ground when it comes to intervention? How realistic would it be? Are we talking about bans, fines, or perhaps guards like using your SingPass account? I don't know. Tell me more.
Yeah. That's a really great question. I think, when we're talking about operational realities, right? That's when it all, kicks in, right?
Yeah.
Realistically, exactly what can be done. I think definitely in Singapore we see a lot of effort, right, already spent on actually making it very clear in terms of what are the kind of markers expected of platforms to make their platforms safe, right? And the online safety Miscellaneous Act, right? For instance, actually do set out very clear markers there. So to a certain extent, I think what regulations can do is, in fact, articulate, right, what are the duties of care and responsibilities that platforms need to be clear about and take ownership for. That also needs to be faster action, right? And also mandates for platforms to take down harmful content once they evaluate that it is harmful and users report them. I think the other kind of intervention we could be looking at is also technological, right? We've been talking about age assurance technologies, right, in the past few years, right? But I also want to put out a word of caution there, right? It's however much we want the technology to kind of solve the problem, right? We must also be careful about how implement them so that they don't become overreaching measures, right? That can compromise people's privacy, for instance.
Yeah, well balanced answer there, which again brings us back to one of the original points that you brought up, and that was education and media literacy. But then I can also imagine people saying, come on, we've been educating about this for years now, but what are we not doing? What can we do more of?
I think, in this is true, right? We've been constantly talking about education, media literacy. In fact, that's where much of our efforts are going to. But I also want to say that education is not something that is static, right? Because platforms are constantly changing. Online harms and the landscape, it's constantly changing, and so are the antics of malicious actors. So education and literacy is not something that we can put in the back burner to say we've tick the checkbox and we are done, right? It's something that we have to constantly engage and keep doing.
Thank you so much for those reminders and those insights. It's been really nice speaking with you, Associate Professor Natalie Pang, Head of the Department of Communications and New Media at NUS, as well as a member of the Media Literacy Council.